Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our Spot On series. Spot On has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called Spot On Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom and pop restaurants. To learn more, go to spoton.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. Kenny Templeton is a hospitality program and leadership development executive with more than 25 years of experience building and leading disciplined teams to own and deliver organizational growth. In 2020, as a result of the pandemic, he took the opportunity to create his own organization. Hey, Kenny, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Great. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure. Hey, my pleasure. Hey, so I mentioned in your bio, in your intro, that you took the opportunity to create your own organization in 2020. Tell me what you had been doing at that time and the circumstances that led you to create that organization.
Yeah, so I spent the vast majority of my previous career in the corporate world, and most recently actually was a VP of operations and a VP of strategic initiatives for a casual dining chain. And was with them. They're based out of Boston. I actually live in Northern Virginia and had been commuting. And as you can imagine, leaving on a Monday, getting back on a Friday or Saturday morning, is can take its toll over time. And my office was actually in Boston, as the pandemic hit, travel stopped, and there was some other situations that happened, and our industry was devastated by the pandemic, and I was initially put on furlough, and then eventually offered a couple different opportunities, and I decided to go ahead and do something I'd been thinking about for 3 or 4 years prior to that. I had it's all, I think see, deep down inside, it's every restaurateur's goal to eventually own their own business, own restaurant. But I was kind of forced into the opportunity, and so far it's really, really paid off in tenfold.
So tell me about what you're up to now then.
Yeah, so I am now currently while I understand and have full confidence in my restaurant knowledge, being a business owner and is something that's still challenging for me, and I decided that I needed to take some time to learn that aspect of the business. When you're in the corporate world for a good amount of time, you have people that take care of certain aspects of the business, and you just don't worry about it because you're focused on other stuff. But as you go out on your own and become an entrepreneur, those people don't exist. So you have to. Some of this I had to learn by doing, and so I decided to partner up with a franchise group that I have a lot of respect for. Been a customer for many years, and I reopened a location that actually was closed because of COVID. It was actually a really, really good business opportunity. And I partnered with Grobex Juice. They're out of California, West Coast based concept. They do smoothies, fresh juices, acai bowls. They have a really, really good line of toasts that are made. Everything's fresh made in house with real product. No syrups or any of that other stuff that some of those other places do. And I've been a customer. Like I said, I've been a customer for many years. I've been in the health and wellness field for quite some time. And in 2010, really made some personal changes to how I was living, and really focused on nutrition and wellness, and it was just one more aspect that I could grow into. My long term goal is to eventually own my own restaurant that really helps to teach people about food, and that's in the works right now. And as a child, I was born in the South and born and raised in the South, and where everything's fried and everything is not very healthy. And I was really never taught about that. I was really never taught about health and wellness, and it wasn't until I woke up one day and I'm sitting there and I'm in my late 30s and not feeling really good about myself, and that I decided to make a change, and began to learn about food, began to learn about nutrition, and learn about wellness and exercise and strength programs, and that's turned into a passion that encompasses a lot more than just food, but my expertise is in the food. And I think every doctor will tell you that any basic, to be healthy, everything starts in the kitchen. So, that's how I got here.
So you have a lot of experience in the restaurant and hospitality industry. If you could tell me how you broke in, and then maybe a little bit about your career path up until your most recent job before you started with Robex.
Yeah, so I fell into the restaurant industry much like some of us. I was a young person, and I started waiting tables, and I I worked for this gentleman, and I can still tell you his name. He's now he now builds restaurants. He's no longer on the operations side, the training side, but he now builds restaurants. And but he took some time and mentored me as an hourly employee, and I went into management, and just worked my way up. I was a GM, I was a multi-unit, I was a director, and then I actually switched companies and to the company that I most recently worked for, and I came aboard as a multi-unit there. Was a director, was a VP of Ops for quite some time, and just the role just kept expanding, 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 and eventually it turned into more of a training and development role, and eventually that turned into a strategy role, where the last couple of years were really spent working on strategic initiatives. And it was at the advent, when I was put in that role. It was at the beginning of third party delivery, where DoorDash and Uber Eats and those types of things were coming on. So we were beginning to really work and test whether or not those things were going to be profitable, and how we could put those into our add technology to our restaurants. I mean, in 2015, 2016, that was really the point in time where the restaurant industry just shifted. I mean, from sit down dining to to all the different avenues of revenue that you can generate, and we were no different at the time. We were just trying to catch up. So I certainly had a lot of plate spinning as we rolled things out in the restaurants.
So you had some pretty big jobs with some pretty well known companies, and then you decide to kind of branch out on your own. What experience did you have that do you feel like has really helped you as you've kind of gone out onto this new entrepreneurial journey?
That's a great question. I will tell you that I've been fortunate in my career to work with, in specifically two gentlemen, and I'll name them. They are Frank Cadera, who was the CEO of our company for quite some time, and another gentleman by the name of Louis Salidas, who is who is the current CFO of Tijuana Flats. And both of those gentlemen, as I worked for them, encouraged and really taught, more importantly, kind of entrepreneurial thinking. I think the challenge that anybody that works in the corporate world has is, how do you get outside of your four walls? And but I was expected and taught, and more importantly, really mentored into what entrepreneurial thinking looks like, what it acts like, what it feels like, they spent so much time with me that I had all the confidence in the world when the time was right to go out and say, okay, I know I can do this. I know about operations. I know I can train people. I know I can get the basics down. I know I can do that. I know that that entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well because of those two gentlemen.
What was there anything, as you kind of got the ball rolling? Was there anything that maybe you didn't know that you didn't know, despite all of your experience, and maybe things that you had learned from those two guys?
Yeah, no, and it's again, that's a great question. So and what I didn't realize as I got moving along, and as we began to form this organization, and Robex is kind of the base of the organization. We've got I'm also a certified personal trainer as well, and we do some work outside of that. And then we've also got a wellness website that where we speak to, just wellness in general, and we work with other people that are in the wellness field, in the some yoga teachers, some personal trainers, and et cetera, et cetera. And as we began to work with all of those people, I really struggled with, um, really struggled with what is the message that I'm trying to get across, and how did how did I coach and help those people understand my vision? Because it was easy when they're working for you, but when you're kind of partnering with people, it becomes an entirely different challenge.
So Robex is just kind of that's kind of like the restaurant, I guess, element. Robex is just part of what
Yep.
you do.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made Robex kind of a attractive franchise opportunity for you?
So I equate our brand to, one, it's got all the, it checks all the boxes in terms of profitability, in terms of the franchise model, in terms of being a viable business. Beyond that, there is as I begun to speak to the leadership team, over the past couple of years, and again, I had been talking to them pre-COVID as well. But as I began to speak to the leadership team, I saw that kind of same entrepreneurial spirit that I had worked with in the previous one. They encouraged local marketing. They encouraged being out in the community. They encouraged trying different things outside of outside of the norm, providing that all of the brand standards were met. And then that was kind of number one. Number two was, it's a concept that I am proud of. Right, it's something that I'm very proud of the product we serve. It's a very nutritious product. It is a product that has high quality. It's made with real ingredients, and that's super important. Ingredients matter to me. What's on the back of a nutrition label really matters. And I'm less concerned about calorie count and some of the macro stuff, but what I put into my body, and what I want to serve to customers is incredibly important. And as I looked across Robex menu, all of their items were again, check those boxes.
So take me through the customer experience then when they interact with your Robex location. How many locations do you have?
So we currently have 3 and one about to open. So
okay, so
and,
they would go into Robex, and is it like just the restaurant, or is there other elements involved then?
So we've got a couple different, just like anything else, we've got a couple different revenue vehicles. We've got online ordering. We've got an app. You can order us through all the traditional third party delivery services. And each one of those has a different customer experience. And this is what I spent a lot of time working on, and where I kind of leaned into some of my experience previous was understanding that each one of those customers is a different customer, and each one of them have a different need. The delivery services, they don't mind paying a little bit more, but the product has to be right, and it has to be perfect, and the order has to be right, and then the follow up on the backside. In terms of separating yourself from the competition comes on the hospitality side. I spend a little bit of time working with the managers in the stores on what that looks like in terms of reaching out to those customers, even though they may be a DoorDash customer or Uber Eats customer or a Postmates, whatever the delivery service is. How do you have some hospitality touches in that experience? App ordering, online orderings, almost a version of the same thing, but your typical that customer expects it to be ready when they arrive, and be right whenever they come. If you think about, when you order your coffee, if you're a app user for any of the major coffee chains, it's the same thing. I mean, the one frustration point that you can have is when you get there and your coffee's not ready, right? So we're no different in that aspect. We want the same thing. We use the term, we really use the term a lot. Eliminate the gaps, right? So we call gaps guest anxiety points. And any time that you have a spot where a customer has anxiety, where they think they're not being taken care of, where they think that there's some anxiety building in them, that's a problem. If the customer, your dine-in customer walks in the door, and if we don't immediately greet them, you'll hear us, "Hey, how are you? Hey, good afternoon." There's no standard phrase. We don't, we're not trying to be. We want to be authentic. That's super important to me as well. So, but if we don't immediately greet them, that can create some anxiety. If the customer walks up to our cashier or our order station, or and they're not they ask a question, and the cashier or whoever's taking their order isn't really able to answer that question in with confidence, and that's an important piece. With confidence, that creates anxiety for the guest. And those are all the things that we really, as I looked at how the vision that I wanted to have inside the store in terms of the customer experience is really eliminate all of those anxiety points to where the customer experience is seamless, regardless how you get us, regardless how you get the product. And then most importantly, when you leave, that the product tastes good. So I have a little phrase that I created that said, make it Insta worthy, and I think you can understand what that means just by saying it.
So did you start with just one location, or did you start with multiples?
So I started with one as I was reopening it, and then we acquired, and then now we're in construction. So
What were the early days like at the one?
So the early days at the one were rough. It was August of 2020 when we reopened. So not only are you attempting to open a business, you're attempting to open a business in COVID. You're attempting to open a business that for your first time. I am very proud to say that that was well over 2 years ago at this point, and we are incredibly, we have almost tripled the volume of August 2020. So we've been quite successful in that first location, and we've seen steady growth in the other locations, and we're really really excited about the new location as well.
So you started in some pretty difficult circumstances. I think some might say that starting any business in any circumstances are difficult, but yours were
Yeah.
especially difficult. What was the key to kind of getting past that?
Um, it really was just like with anything. And this is where I don't think it was different than, people have asked me that question, and I really appreciate that question a lot. But I don't think there's any difference, right? I think anytime that you're going into something, anytime that you're trying to create a business, you're trying to, create a new program or whatever, right? If the level of enthusiasm isn't there, it's not going to be successful. And I was surrounded by, people that wanted to be successful. I was surrounded by people that wanted to see us be successful. And it was interesting, and this is one of the unexpected things that I didn't realize, is that at that point in time, I think our community around the business of that first one was tired of seeing things just, because if you remember at that point in time, things were just closing left and right. I
Mhm.
mean, and I think that people were just tired of seeing businesses close. And I remember that first weekend we opened up. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people that said, "Man, I'm so glad that you guys are doing this. I'm so glad that we're finally not losing anymore, right? We're finally not losing." And it was almost like people felt like happy that somebody actually like was tried to attempted to move in the right direction. And I honestly believe, and I don't have this is I don't have any data to back this up, right? But
Mhm.
I honestly believe that that's one of the reasons that we were successful, is that people really gave us a lot of credit for taking that big risk.
Well, nice. That's very cool. You said you had been wanting to do it for 3 or 4 years. Would you say that? What would you say to people who, I'm sure a lot of people, maybe in the restaurant industry, especially who've been doing it for a while, always have had thoughts of opening up their own, but maybe they're afraid to start something new or leave the security of a paycheck from an employer. What would you say to those people in terms of encouraging them to give it a shot?
So I would say, one, do your homework. Do your homework. Uh, and then two, if all the check boxes are checked, do it. I mean, it's really that simple. Because I think if you have and you've done your homework and you have the confidence that you're going to be successful, I'm also a believer that anybody that believes that they are going to be successful and has the confidence they will be successful. And I would encourage people to do those two things. And I will also tell you at the same time, a few years back, I'd actually was in the process of actually purchasing another business, and we went through due diligence, and we were in due diligence. We wound up backing out. And this was well before COVID. This was a couple of years before COVID. And things worked out. I was really disappointed because I was really excited about it. I was really excited about the business. I thought it had great opportunity. I thought it fit in with kind of what we wanted to do long term, and we backed out, and it broke. It really like it. I went back and forth. I was kind of stubborn a little bit, and but today I look back on it now. It's 5 years after that. I'm so grateful that actually happened.
So when you say do your homework, what are some important things to keep in mind beyond, probably just great menu ideas or great culture ideas?
Really understand. I mean, it really depends on what you're doing, and if it have a very very clear vision in mind of what you want to accomplish. I mean, I can tell you that we have a 10-year vision for the company that we're operating right now, that goes well beyond, that goes deep into the wellness field. And I think, I also think that one of the positives for us in terms of COVID, if you can say that there's a positive, is that everybody is paying a lot more attention to health and wellness right now. And I don't believe, I do believe that's going to be a generational change, right? I'm a product of 9/11, and 9/11 changed my generation, in the way that they think about things. And I think COVID will is probably the same thing for not only my generation but the generations after me as well. So it's a very clear vision, and we've got it mapped out in terms of what we can do and when we want to do it, and really crystallize that vision, and all the way down to these are the things that need to happen, today. These are the things that need to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, and then 5 years from now, in order to make that vision happen.
I have one more question for you, but first tell me how people can find out more about Robex and everything you have going on.
So you can certainly go to robex.com and check out our menu, all the different locations we've got. Well over 100 locations nationwide. If you're in the Northern Virginia area, come see us in Loudoun County. Those are all my locations. You can also, certainly check out our company's website, my company's website, which is Templeton Wellness, and you can learn. We've got, like I said, we've got partnerships with a bunch of different people that are in the health and wellness field, and get information to you, on a regular basis.
Great. Hey, last question then. What if you go into Robex as a customer, or when you did, or when you do now, what was kind of your go-to item?
So I tell people all the time. So I started the first time I went to a Robex was 2006, and I've been going in there for a while, but in 2008, I drank a smoothie called a Peanut Power Plus, which is basically just peanut butter and bananas, and it's got whey protein in it. It's a great post-workout smoothie, and I tell people all the time that I would walk in and I'd look at the menu, because we've got a fairly expansive menu for a juice bar, and I would look at the menu for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'd order the same thing. For about 10 years. So I did that little dance happened all the time.
Yeah, because hey, when you find something good, why branch out? Hey, exactly. Kenny, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.